I want to spend some time now looking at the blend tool. The blend tool can be found here, or it's W on your keyboard. And what the blend tool does is to sort of morph one shape to another in a series of steps in between steps. It can be really useful for making things like framed animation components. For instance, if you had something that wanted to stretch from one shape to another. But here I'm just going to simply illustrate how it's used. And so the first thing I want to do is select two objects that I want to blend together. So right now I've got an orange circle and a white circle. I'm going to select those, use this blend tool right here, and I simply need to click on one object and then click on the next one. And what that's done already is created something that looks like it's a gradient. So if I click off of this, click on the background, it seems like I just have a gradient applied to my object, right? Except it's not quite a gradient, because what it's actually doing is blending between those two objects. Let's go ahead and have this selected and double click on our blend tool. That'll bring up the blend options, and we'll say preview. There are different methods you can use. Right now it's trying to create smooth color. So it's using spacing between the objects to create smooth color. I could change this to specified steps, and you can see what it was using is 182 steps. Let's change that to 10 and see what happens. So you see you start to get some posterizing. Double click that again. Let's change it down to like 3 and click on it. So now you can see that it's actually getting from one shape to another in 3 steps in between. So 1, 2, 3 steps between the originals. That's how that number is calculated. You could also use specified distance. And specified distance is based on a measurement. So I could say I want these to all be 0.3 inches apart from each other, 0.5 inches apart from each other. And that's going to give us the same thing that 3 steps was giving us before. 3 steps. 0.5 is exactly the same. So what is this doing? Is it just doing color? Well, no, it's actually doing from shape to shape. So I'll go ahead and hit OK here. Use my arrow tool. If I use my selection tool, all I can do is click on this object and move it around. But I can use my group selection tool and click on the individual objects. So let's click on the white guy and move him over here. So you can see what's happening is it's actually extending that from that orange object to the white object, no matter where they are between each other right now. So that is what the blend tool is creating. And you have the option now, if I click on this object with the blend tool, or with my selection tool, let's use my direct selection tool. I'm sorry, I'll illustrate that point on the next set. So that's how the blend tool works. I still only have 2 shapes. If I look at Command Y, show my outline mode, I only have 2 shapes there. Now you're not limited in the number of shapes you can blend between. So let's try these. I'm going to first select them. So I've got a white square with a black stroke, a green star shape with no stroke, and then a purple polygon object with a green stroke. So let's see what happens if we try to blend those together. Select all of that, use my blend tool, I'm going to click in the center, center, center. So you can see it's not maybe what you were expecting, and not maybe what I was expecting to have happen. I can use my group selection tool now. I can move these around. These are all individual objects still. So let's see what's happening. I want to edit my blend so that it's a little bit more obvious. Let's say specified distance. Make it 0.3. Okay. Now, what is going on in here? Let's see. I see no blend of the stroke on the black square to the green one, and I see no color change in the blend of the stroke from the green one to the purple one. However, the stroke thickness is changing. So I don't have a stroke applied to the center object. If I would like to have my stroke blend from the gray to the nothing, or to this green, I need to put that same green color on that object. So while it's selected using my group selection tool, I can simply drag that in there. And now what I've got going on is a 1-point stroke fading from black to this green color as a 1-point stroke, and then from the green on here to the green on the purple rectangle. I could also change the size of that stroke to like 0.01, let's say. Make it really thin. And then it's going to fade down to almost no stroke. So it really is, it's looking at each attribute between these objects and doing a calculated step based on the number I've given it in between each one of these. So something else you have control over is the way that it's blending. So if I move this up here, you see it's doing it in this sort of pointed arrow method instead of what I want it to do. So I'm going to click on this, and you can, just by using the regular selection tool, you can see a line illustrating the direction between all of those objects. Well, what's nice is I can use my pen tools, the convert point tool, and I can now drag that point out, and this is going to change the vector path that these things are being distorted on. So this is a pretty nice feature. Let's double-click blend again. We'll make this in-between steps a little bit bigger so we can see that. What else can we modify in here? If I change this to sample steps instead, let's say 10 steps. So I've just got 10 steps in between. What happens if I were to rotate one of my shapes? Is it going to have any effect at all? So I've selected that and I want to rotate it. Well, yeah, because this blend is sort of dynamic, it's going to continue updating regardless of what I do to these points. You also have the ability to change the way it's blending. So right now it's keeping them all sort of in the same orientation. Well, I can change this so that's now rotating them manually to fit that path that I've created. You do have control over that path at both ends, so I could click this one and I could say convert to curve as well. So I can make it bring it in this way, and I can make this one come in this way. So you do have a lot of control of that path and how things are being blended along that path. No matter what I change to any of these objects right now, it will update the blend. So I could select just this rectangle right now and decide, you know what, I wanted that to be yellow. So make sure I want the stroke to be white. So I'll make the stroke white, and I'll make the fill color yellow. So I can continue updating this as much as I want to until I reach the effect that I was trying to achieve. So that's just a quick demonstration of the blend tool and how that works.